Dorkys Ramos is a Dominican lifestyle writer. She writes for various publications both in print and online while managing and designing for her stationery company, Porcupine Hugs. She's an inspirational Latino because she has persevered and trailblazed her own path before being diagnosed with cancer twice. Her story will inspire you and move you to stay determined, authentic, and smiling regardless what life throws at you. I know that you were diagnosed with breast cancer at the tender age of 30. It was December 6th, 2012. I remember it so well because you were interviewed by BET and I saw that video and I literally cried. Not because I felt bad, but more of like, wow, you're so young and you're going through this, but your spirit was still intact. And I love that. So can you walk me through that experience? How was that when you found out about it?
Well, I was during I was scheduled for a routine checkup with my gynecologist, and I have felt a lump before, but turned out that wasn't the lump. Like he found another one, and he wanted us to check up on it, so he sent me for an ultrasound, and the whole time he was like, oh, it's probably nothing, we just want to make sure, you're young, you don't have a history of breast cancer in your family, it's probably nothing. And so then the results for that came back, and he was like, well, let's do a biopsy. And I was like, oh my God, like a biopsy? That's scary. And it all happened so quickly, like within 2 weeks, if that, I had the results back from the biopsy. And I just still remember getting that call. I was getting ready, to start my day of freelancing, probably working from a coffee shop or something. And I'm getting dressed, I'm finishing up, and I get the phone call, and all I could hear was carcinoma, and it was just like tunnel vision. I wrote down the names of the people he said to contact, and I don't know. It was just, I dug myself into a hole. I didn't want to deal with any of it. It was just like a shock. I was not expecting that at all. And it was boom, boom. It was so fast. Everything just happened so quickly.
How were you able to manage that? At that time, were you working at Latina?
I was working with BET. And I actually I didn't take any time off. I took off the day that I found out, and then maybe I went right back to, I was working from home, and I just refused to take any time off. I refused to let the cancer win, and take me out. I was just so against just stopping my life for this.
Wow. Now, is that something that now, looking back and retrospectively, would you have done it differently, or you would still do the same?
I don't know, because I feel like that's just my MO. That's my defense mechanism.
Are you still taking medication? Because I know that you mentioned that it would take up to 5 years. And I was doing some of the math, and it was up to 2012, no? I mean, 2017.
Well, so the first time around, because then I got a recurrence. So then it kind of put the whole thing at 0. And this time, we kind of threw everything at it except for chemo. My oncotype, the type of cancer I have, wouldn't really, chemo wouldn't really do much of a difference. I've been on Lupron injections, which is hormonal therapy, and basically puts you in menopause. Because my cancer feeds off of the estrogen, they just shut the whole thing down. Which is why I get hot flashes, and it's uncomfortable. It's gotten better, but it's not fun. I'm also still taking tamoxifen, which is the medication pills that you take every day to keep the cancers from getting to the estrogen receptors. The first time around, I had a lumpectomy, and then 21 days of radiation, every day. Oh, and by the way, this time around, if I thought the first time was fast, because it was within 2 weeks, this happened within days. Because I've been going ever since 2012 to a whole team of doctors, and I would see them every 4 months. So I was in just a routine checkup in 2016, and then she felt the lump, and she was like, let's send you upstairs for a biopsy, just to make sure. And then sure enough, I got the news, and that was on a Thursday. Tuesday I had my lumpectomy.
Is that because it has grown to, like, why?
It was still a pea-sized, like the first time it was like a pea-sized lump, and this time it kind of confused all my doctors because the cancer was right on the scar. It was actually under my arm because I had lymph nodes taken out just to make sure that it, like, there was no potential for it spreading to other parts of my body. And that's the lump that they took out, and it had cancer, like, right on the scar. And at the lumpectomy, she took off another piece of scar tissue that was, you know, on my breast, and that also had cancer. So this time it was in 2 spots. When the margins didn't come back clear, they said, like, actually, like, we feel like you should consider a mastectomy. And that was like, oh my God. Like, just the month leading up to, like, it was just crying all the time. Just, it was terrible. I was so freaked out. I was so sad and scared and just kind of mourning, a lot of grieving and mourning, just wondering why. And so after I did the mastectomy, then I had radiation for 5 weeks every day in February. Yeah, it's been a road. And then, you know, then there's the whole reconstruction surgery, and it took a while for me to finally get my implants, but just the placeholders were just not fun. They were rock hard. It was like someone took cement balls and like stuck them under my chest. They were lumpy, and I was like self-conscious all the time. The things you have to go through, there's gotta be a better way.
And you know what I love about this is that although you were asking why me and you're going through this hard journey twice, you are still smiling and you're still going at it and you're still doing your thing, right? So,
well, yeah, because it goes back to my MO, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, cancer, like, and I've also been going to therapy, thank God. Because there was a lot of processing I had to do. But the thing about me is that, like, I have to joke about it, or kind of, it's my coping mechanism. It's like, if I don't give it so much importance, then maybe I can like go on. So I'm still working on accepting the limitations of having gone through that, both mentally, the energy that it, you know, the toll it takes on my energy, my mood, because I get frustrated when I'm like, I should be able to do everything, and like, I'm so stressed at work, and like, I'm running to appointments, and like, trying to do it within lunch hour, and if they're running late, I get like frustrated, and my therapist is like, you need to accept that this is your reality, and you gotta stop wanting to pretend like it doesn't zap energy. Like, I don't know, art saved me the first time around.
And it's such a beautiful way to do it because your illustrations, they're so whimsical. So it's kind of interesting, the juxtaposition between what you're going on in your life and then how whimsical and fun and as if nothing is happening, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like this delusional wonderland.
I think that that's one of the things that makes your art so unique. How did you start Porcupine Hugs? Where did that concept come from?
That started, the first spark was like in 2007, 2008 or so. And then I wish I could like have a better story behind the name, but like that boyfriend at the time, like I just asked him, like, oh, do you have any ideas, you know, for a company name? And he just gave that one, and I thought it was perfect. And then I kind of shelved it. And then in 2010 or 11, I took a class again for greeting card design. And then in 2012, like 2 weeks before I was diagnosed, I registered my company as an LLC. I was like, I am all in. I am doing this. You know, I'm going to design holiday cards and all that. The silver lining to my like the cancer story was like, I created this company before I was diagnosed. I didn't want anyone to say like, oh, you know, it was the cancer was a catalyst for, you know, her creativity and like her creative spark and creating, like, you know, it's like I didn't want cancer to get any credit. I did this because I wanted to, long before like my light flashed before my eyes. But I did really dive into work like art and focus so much on art during that whole recovery. Like I would just go home and just paint and paint and paint and paint.
Now, one of my favorites is the fact that you have little Dorky.
Yeah.
And she is basically strolling New York City and doing things that perhaps you would do or I do. And I think that that is so cool. I know one of my favorites has been Rain, 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 that picture. How did you come about that concept?
I mean, it's not original. I've definitely seen it. There are a couple other people that do this, but they'll have like a little tiny version of themselves, or they're like out sightseeing, and this little thing is just like in front of different landmarks. So I had already been illustrating me for several months. And so I was like, oh, what would happen if she like was actually an object now, like in in flowers and like reading a book, and I don't know, it just kind of popped out.
There's not a lot of multicultural Latinas out there doing it. We only have about 2% of Latinos who are actually even authors. In illustration is even lower. So, and yes, you might have been inspired by somebody else, but the fact that you're doing it and you're representing someone of color, that in itself could, I'm sure that is inspiring a lot of little girls. And if it's not little girls, it's definitely like somebody like me that is like, oh my God, this is so cool. I love it.
I struggle a lot with kind of resting on that. Like, because I'm always focusing on like, yeah, but there's all this other stuff that I need to work on. Really struggle with celebrating myself and not being my harshest critic.
And I think that a lot of Latinas have the same situation going. The fact that you're candid about it will help many people because it's not easy. Let's be realistic. We only have 24 hours a day. We have to sleep, and we cannot possibly do everything, although we want to do everything. Not only are you teaching others about, hey, you could get through this, don't worry about it, persevere, but also of, it's okay to sometimes not do what you have to do because of the fact that, unfortunately, you're going through a lot of shit. I guess, what are the questions that you think people should ask themselves as they're going through everything, right? As they're going through whatever adverse situation that they're going through, what questions should they ask to really rekindle that passion?
That's a good question. Like, I wish I knew those questions. Like, you should really ask, like, okay, what am I spending my time on? Like, is this really gonna matter in a week, a year from now? Like, am I doing something that's gonna last or touch someone or something? Yeah, that's what I ask myself. And a lot of times I forget. A lot of times I get caught up in like the rat race. I'm like, I gotta do this hack. I gotta like turn that in and this deadline. And sometimes I gotta like step back and be like, I just don't care. I'm like, I don't care about this. Why am I spending my time doing this? Yeah, it's just trying to like refocus, like redirect your attention toward, even if it's something you only do in the evenings or on the weekends, just having that thing that makes it worth it.
Exactly. So what's most valuable to you?
Yeah. Like, what would you happily spend your time on? People say like that thing you used to procrastinate, but that's the thing that you're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm. What are your next steps?
I don't know. I'm still trying to trim the fat. Of like, that's not that important. That's not like, I don't have enough time to become like a ballerina now, and I gotta let go of that dream, and like become like have a rock band. Like,
but you know what, little Dorkys, she could do it.
Yeah, I know. I need to like.
She could do the band. She could be the ballet dancer. She could be all the other stuff that you think that you don't have time for now. But she could do it.
Through my paper self.
Yes, that will be awesome.
I know. I need to like bring her back. She hasn't been on an adventure in a while.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for asking me to do this and be a part of this.